Happy Monday to you. I'm Fox 26 meteorologist Ramisha Shade. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Of course, we had a lot going on in Houston this weekend, the big Beyonce concert, sporting events, and I'm sure a lot of other festivities. But we are now into another work week, and it's also time for your tropical update for your Monday. Of course, we are still in what is typically a pretty busy period of our hurricane season, but once again, we are fortunate, nothing headed our way, but we do have a little something, a little action in the Gulf, and we also have a tropical storm out there and another very strong tropical wave. So let me get right to it and update you on what's happening out there in the tropics. As I mentioned, though, we are still in that pretty active period. Historically, typically, we are getting towards the end of September, but usually the entire month of September can be a very busy period in our hurricane season. Of course, we've passed the peak, which was September 10th. We've still got to get through the rest of this month, and then the first few weeks of October, then typically our chances to get hit by a tropical storm or hurricane, at least in Southeast Texas, start to go down quite a bit. But overall, we'll have to watch it closely because we still have super warm water out there in the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, the Atlantic, and we could still have something develop and head our way. So even though it's been quiet for us this season, don't let your guard down. All right, we do have a tropical storm out there. This is Tropical Storm Philippe in the central Atlantic. It is off to the east of the Lesser Antilles. You can see the Lesser Antilles here, San Juan, Puerto Rico. We've got Bermuda up to the north. So at this point, Philippe not impacting any land or not expected to impact land anytime soon, likely not for the next 5 days. Here are the latest coordinates and the strength of it. As of the latest 4 p.m. advisory, it's right at 45 miles per hour for those maximum sustained winds. It is moving west around 15 miles per hour, and we've got that pressure around 1,002 millibars. So overall, Philippe has kind of weakened a little bit, mainly for 2 reasons. We've got some drier air that's gotten pulled into the system to help to weaken it, and we have what's called vertical wind shear. So basically we have wind going at different levels, different speeds, different directions, and we do have it kind of ripping this system apart in the upper levels. So it's really not going to allow this system to strengthen a whole lot over the coming days. So in fact, the official National Hurricane Center forecast maintains Philippe as a tropical storm over the next 5 days or so. So we're not expecting it to develop into a hurricane, and we're expecting it to stay probably to the north of the Caribbean islands and to the south of Bermuda for now. But at this point, we are going to have it maintaining that tropical storm status, 45 mile per hour winds around Tuesday afternoon. Same strength for Wednesday afternoon, Thursday afternoon, Friday afternoon, still 45 miles per hour. And by Saturday afternoon, likely even weaker, a 40 mile per hour tropical storm. That would barely be a tropical storm. So that is the good thing with Philippe. It's not expected to blow up into a monster hurricane or major hurricane, and it's not expected to hit any land area anytime soon. So hopefully it will kind of skirt past the Caribbean islands and miss Bermuda and then hook to the north as we go into this weekend and next week. So there's Tropical Storm Philippe at this point. We'll still have to monitor it as it gets closer to the east coast of the U.S. Can't totally rule out some impacts, but for now, we still have several days to monitor it. Also want to jump over to the Gulf of Mexico because the Gulf has been very quiet for the last few weeks. But at this point, we have a potential system. Now, earlier today, in fact, just a few hours ago, there was about a 10% chance for this disturbance in the south central Gulf of Mexico to possibly develop into a tropical depression or tropical storm as it slides to the west. But as of the latest 4 p.m. advisory, the National Hurricane Center now giving this a whopping 0% chance for development for the next 2 days, and in fact for the next 7 days. It looks like the conditions in the atmosphere are not going to be favorable for this to get going. So even though the water is still very warm, upper 80s to low 90s for much of the Gulf, we're still not going to have a very good shot for this developing. So that chance for development in the Gulf down to 0%, but of course if that changes, we'll let you know. But right now things are looking good for us. We don't have to worry about that developing, blowing up, and heading our way. Now, this one is a different story. This is a strong tropical wave still out in the eastern Atlantic, and notice it is in the red, and that means a high chance to develop into a tropical depression or tropical storm. So this is Invest 91L, and that chance of cyclone formation through the next 48 hours, now up to 40%. It was at 30%, so now a medium chance for the next 2 days and a high 80% chance to develop into a tropical system over the next week. General movement is to the west-northwest. That would take it very close to the northern portions of the Lesser Antilles, but likely just to the north of the Lesser Antilles, likely just to the north of Puerto Rico as well. And we'll have to wait and see if it moves closer to the east coast of the U.S. or if it turns and heads closer to Bermuda, but still several days to watch this. I want to show you the computer models for Tropical Storm Philippe, and that general west-northwest motion will likely continue. And most of these models are taking it north of the Caribbean islands, so good news for them, and keeping it south of Bermuda for now, but of course we'll have to watch it closely. Computer model forecast for Invest 91L kind of take it mainly to the west, and then it kind of curves it up to the northwest, so that would hopefully keep it away once again from the Caribbean islands. But of course these systems still have several days over the Atlantic before they would threaten land, so we'll be watching it closely. How many storms have we had so far this season, this year? We're now up to 17 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. So we do have a pretty active hurricane season that we are in the middle of. We're already above average for the named storms, near average for the number of hurricanes, and right at that average for major hurricanes. So already an average to above average season, and we've still got a few more months to go. So we're going to have to watch things closely, but keep in mind we could have more of these systems becoming named storms and producing some damage. So we are on that third column of names. Of course, we had Ophelia, we now have Philippe. The next name on the list would be Rina. So if that system in the eastern Atlantic develops over the next few days, that likely would be the name. Tropical storm or Hurricane Rina will likely be the next one that we're talking about. After that, we've got Sean, Tammy, Vince, and then Whitney, and then that's it for our names. So hopefully we don't run out of names. Hopefully we don't have to use all of those names, but we are hoping for a quiet end to the season, but things could still be pretty busy. All right, the Gulf of Mexico has that one disturbance now with a 0% shot for development. We've got an interesting looking cluster of showers and storms in the central Caribbean, but at this point, the National Hurricane Center not looking at that for tropical development, and that system in the Gulf, a 0% chance for development. So things are still fairly quiet for the most part in the Gulf, but look at those water temps, upper 80s to low 90s. So still we're going to have to monitor things over the coming weeks with all of that fuel out there in the form of that warm water. Waters for the Atlantic still very warm out there. We got some 80s, some 90-degree readings showing up. So still super warm water. We still have that main ingredient, or one of the main ingredients, which is that warm water. Of course, you need some other things to fall into place. You need that low shear, and you don't need that dry air getting pulled into these systems. So we'll have to monitor all of the systems out there and any future potential systems, but at least for now, things are looking quiet for us here in Southeast Texas. And of course, we'll continue to track where Philippe goes and our potential tropical system in the eastern Atlantic, and of course that system in the Gulf, which now pretty much has no shot for development. All right, that is your tropical update for your Monday afternoon. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Once again, I'm Fox 26 meteorologist Ramisha Shade.